Let me tell you 3 stories, a couple of them from my personal experience, about how marketing agencies are borderline ripping off their clients. The whole reason that I started my agency is because fresh out of college, I went to work for a fully remote digital marketing agency. I thought it was going to be the move. I thought it was going to be fantastic. And it was just such a joke. So disorganized. Basically, the entire strategy of operation was the owner would hop on the sales call, convince the client that they could do good work, and then the client would never see the owner again, and the work would get pawned off to a bunch of fresh college graduates like myself who had no idea what we were doing. So I was super burnt by that experience, and I thought, if clients are paying every month anywhere between $500-800 and a couple $1,000s for this stuff, this crap, honestly, I could just do this myself and not, I can cut out the middleman. And I was right and wrong about that. There is benefits of having an established marketing agency, somebody who's been around the block, right? Like, the biggest thing is the softwares, the communication systems, also the sales experience, honestly, like the ability to convince clients that you're doing is a benefit of having an established agency, right? Downside of it, incredibly inefficient. So much internal communication and stuff getting lost that just doesn't need to happen. I saw that after graduating school, and I left the marketing agency that I worked for after just a couple of months. I've been freelancing ever since, and it's gone great. Not only am I paying bills, but I'm helping clients, I'm doing great work, and it's growing, right? After only a couple of years, which is nearly unheard of. I'm coming up on 2 years, so I'm still under 2 years of doing this myself. But let me tell you these 3 stories. Number 1 is actually from this company that I worked for, that I saw a couple things I saw in real life. First of all, I got assigned the social media management retainer. Like, I was kind of in charge of that because that's something that I wanted to do. I had some experience with graphic design, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can do social media. Their version of selling a social media package, apparently what they convinced their clients was worth taking their hard-earned money for, was going on a stock image website, downloading some images that are, remotely connected to the business. I specifically did this for a water bottling company out of Georgia. Hopefully I'm not being too specific. I don't even really care, because this is the truth of what happened. A water bottling company out of Georgia. So I'd go on a stock image site. I'd download some images of creeks. That's water, right? We couldn't do lakes because, you don't get bottled water from lakes. You get spring water from creeks. So we did some creeks, some rivers, branch out into the rivers. Obviously not the ocean. That doesn't make sense at all. We weren't allowed to use any images of bottled water because it wasn't actually their bottles. Even if there was no logo, like, the design of the bottle would be off, right? So then I was like, oh, let me get some creative here. So I do some exercise, like people running, people lifting weights, just, for a little bit of variety. And then we download these stock images, and we would put them in Canva. I'd use ChatGPT to come up with ideas for the posts, like basically just a simple headline that would go on the Canva document. And this was back in the day when ChatGPT was not good at all. It was like the early days, 3 years ago? And so the copy was rough. But I mean, it was there, right? I'd drop it all in Canva. I'd put the text over the image. I'd drop their logo in the corner. I'd export that. We'd schedule them onto our software. 3 posts a week of this, just a single graphic, that's it. We'd make sure we'd hit all the major holidays. So, 4th of July, we got a little flag image with their logo saying Happy 4th of July from X company. That's it, dude. I don't know how much these companies were paying for that, but what bothers me is not that they were paying whatever, because I'm sure it wasn't much. I'm sure it was a couple $100. And in the grand scheme of things, like, my social media package now is, 10, 20 times more expensive. So they weren't paying a lot, but that's not the point. The point is that the owner of this agency hopped on a call and was like, yeah, social media is a great way to do marketing, right? It's a marketing agency. So he's selling marketing, right? Marketing means you get leads so that your sales team can sell leads and increase revenue. So he is hopping on a call saying, yeah, our method of social media will help your marketing. It's worth you paying us for it. Huh? What exactly was that doing? I know that success is not measured by likes and comments, but these posts would sometimes get 0 likes, and we just keep posting them 3 times a week, just running them out. It's ridiculous. This exact same company told me his whole strategy. So if you're ever curious about how marketing agencies 10, 15 years ago operated, let me tell you the playbook right now. A lot of times they are website-based services, right? So they build you a website and then they charge you a retainer to maintain that website. The problem is that once they've built the website, then you're convinced that only they know how to maintain it. It's already plugged into their system, so it's incredibly inefficient to have one of these agencies build you a website and then take it elsewhere for maintenance or try to do it yourself. That's basically not an option. So what they do is they discount the website massively, right? Like $1,000 to build a website or something like that. When, 5 years ago, people were paying anywhere from $6,000 to $15,000 for a website, for just like a normal local business website. Yeah, crazy. But so, if that's you and you got an offer for $1,000 to build the exact same website, you'd be like, sure. Yeah, and then on the back end, they're going to charge you $500 a month, $1,000 a month, something like that, to maintain the website every single month. Again, as someone on the inside, what does maintaining a website mean? I don't care what marketing jargon they throw at you to tell you about maintaining your website. I personally have had my website on Squarespace. I built it drag and drop. I don't know how to code, none of that, nothing fancy. I do fancier stuff for clients, but nothing fancy for my own website. It sits on Squarespace. I pay like a $17 subscription. Maybe it's like $29 subscription, some little number like that. Definitely under $50 a month. And it just sits there. And if I want to update it, I log into Squarespace. Super easy interface. If you never used it, then I'd recommend at least looking. If you want to change an image, you want to change some text, you just click on there and change it. That's maintenance. Now, I'm going to hear all this issue like, oh, what about SEO and optimizing the website for marketing and blah, blah, blah. My next stories are going to question that as well. Basically, maintaining a website is barely a job. And here's where I'll give it some grace. Like, I understand that sometimes if you have a website, you just want somebody that knows how to do things and you don't want to worry about it as a business owner. That's totally fair. To me, the problem is when a marketing agency is leveraging what they have in order to lock you in and pressure you into a certain retainer. And that's kind of basically what happened with the second story. I was just talking to a buddy of mine. He owns a cabinet business. And he was like, yeah, we're not doing much for marketing. The only thing is our website maintenance retainer, which is $500 a month. I was like, dang, like, do you use them? Like, do you have a lot of edits to your website? He's like, no, I can't even remember the last time I used them. So let's say it's been a year since he last asked this company for help. That's $6,000 from a local business, which again is not a significant amount of money depending on how much revenue you're doing, but it's still money. $6,000, which is $500 a month, that has gone to this marketing agency in order to maintain their website. I want to be realistic. You could probably have, 20 companies like that, because the amount of people that actually need changes to their website as a local business is relatively low. That's a lot of revenue for not a lot of work. And again, I'm not trying to fault business. Like, I do business. I try to leverage what I have. I try to do the best I can in sales, right? Like, I want a retainer income. That's great. The point is, I don't want to sell marketing that does nothing. That to me is deceptive, and it's not honest, right? That's the definition of deceptive. And it's not serving local businesses. And the reason I have a business is to provide value to other businesses. So I'm going to charge a significant amount more, but I'm also going to actually provide value. I'm actually going to provide results, right? So that's the second story, is from my buddy and his website maintenance retainer. The third one is the real kicker, because it happened to me and it's pretty recent. So I have paid a white label company, which means like a company that works, a subcontractor basically, for me in order to run SEO and Google ads for some of my clients, just because I don't have a ton of experience, and I try to have the attitude of I don't know everything. I'm very new in this game, and so it makes sense to pay somebody who's been around the block, who knows their stuff, for some of the stuff that I'm not as good at, which is I can do almost all of it myself. I can definitely manage all of it myself. I know my way around the block again enough to be able to talk to these people and get the results for my clients that I need. But again, just pulling back the curtain a little bit, I can't do everything, right? And so I was paying a company. I've paid them since March, I think $650 a month for their lowest tier of SEO work. And every month I get a report. It's a statement of work about what they did. And again, I kind of know enough to be like, that doesn't really seem like it's worth it, but hey, I'm going to trust their process. They're doing something. And every time I get on the review call with the leader of the company, he would be like, yeah, actually, this is what's driving the majority of the results. Finally, after 5 or 6 months of this, I was like, you know what? I would think eventually the statement of work would change because you've kind of done what you need to do in this avenue, and now you're going to, do something else. Again, I'm trying not to get too specific because I don't want to trash anybody, even though I'm not happy with what happened. Eventually, I happened to need the blog articles that they were publishing for my company. I already wasn't happy with them. They were clearly written by AI. I'm pretty sure that pretty soon Google is going to be able to detect, hey, this article was written by AI. They probably already can. And they're not going to boost that content because Google wants valuable content. And we can debate all day about whether AI is valuable content. But at the end of the day, they're not going to read your article that was written by AI when they could just ask AI, right? Like, I'm not going to go read an article on, again, something that I would just ask ChatGPT. I'm somebody who asks ChatGPT a lot of things. That's my main way of searching. I'm not going to go read an article that answers those same questions when I could just, ask the AI source. Anyway, Google's eventually going to detect that. If they don't already, they probably do, and they're not going to boost that content. Therefore, the SEO from AI articles is basically useless. That's my theory. The guy that I was working with was pushing back on that, so I was kind of, again, trusting his expertise and just letting him do his thing. Well, anyway, the blog articles are a major part of this SEO retainer. Like, that's a main part of what we're paying them for. The statement of work every month would state new blog articles and then like some minor tweaks on my website. But again, as somebody who's been in marketing agencies, I know these tweaks on my website doesn't take a lot, right? Like, I think the website that I was paying them for had 4 or 5 pages. So doing all the tweaks that they need to do on 4 or 5 pages is like 2 months of work. And then at this point, I'd pay them for 6 months, 7 months. So I was like, okay, doesn't seem like the statement of work is adding up. The blog articles are AI. That's 2 strikes. We'll see if this is actually worth it. Well, at some point, I wanted one of the blog articles to like send in an email or something like that. So I email the guy, I say, hey, where are these blog articles on the website? I can't find them. He emails me back and he says, hey, Bradley, the blog articles have actually been ready for a while, but they haven't been posted because we never got the green light from your end. So here's a backlog of all of the articles since March that are ready for your approval. So, okay, his team has been writing the blog articles, and they do email them to me, but apparently I didn't go through the exact right process of saying, hey, these are good to go, and they never followed up. So now we have blog articles, 2 a month since March, sitting in a Google Doc that have never been used. And yet, at the same time, on every call that we get on, you're like, oh yeah, SEO is driving great results, which the data was definitely questioning that. And I'm like, brother, what is your team doing? And why are you taking $650 a month from me, showing up on calls, not putting in any effort to figure out what's going on or help me get the results that I'm paying you for? Again, is that his fault that I didn't approve the articles? No, that's on me. I should have paid attention. I should have made sure that I gave the thumbs up. I should have figured out where the blog articles were before now to make sure that they're actually getting out there. That's on me. I own that. But from his perspective, what is his company doing? And how does he feel good about selling me a package in which he's not even providing the services? And then, yeah, you can blame it on me. Again, I take ownership for my fault. But it's just such a flawed way that these marketing agencies work, is they get a bunch of tiny little retainers, $500 here, $1,000 here. They stack that up until they have the revenue that they want. And what do they do for their clients? Again, I'm not saying it's no work, but is it work that matters? Like, what's going on? What are you really providing that's valuable for your clients? At the end of the day, a lot of people are skeptical of newer kids like myself who have only been in the marketing world for a couple years. And I honestly want to flip that and say you should be very skeptical of the way that traditional marketing agencies have worked. Most people watching this, if you made it this far, have probably had a bad experience with a marketing agency. And that's for a reason, because the way that they work is just messed up. There's a lot of systems, a lot of habits, a lot of best practices that make them a lot of money and don't bring you results. So be very skeptical. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to advocate for myself and a lot of kids that are like me. Give us a shot, because we are absolutely rewriting what works in this space. We know how to use AI tastefully, not to just throw out slop on your website. We know how to do social media that actually works, because we are social media users. And we are disrupting the industry, so we are, by definition, doing things differently than what has always been done. And in marketing, that's part of what matters, right? Because you need to make sure that you're catching people's attention in a way that actually motivates them to reach out, provide you with their information so that you, the business owner, can then sell them your service. So those are my stories. Be skeptical of marketing agencies. I've seen all of these things firsthand in the last couple of years, and it's ridiculous. At the end of the day, make sure that who you're paying is actually serving your business. I don't want to sound whiny, and I know that sometimes it's easier to just have somebody on a retainer that can take care of things, but that person should be somebody that you trust. And so far, trust has been broken in multiple areas with me and my experience with marketing agencies. And so I wouldn't want to be paying a monthly retainer to somebody like that who I just don't trust, who is not looking out for me, who's not really paying attention to my account, who lets blog articles sit untouched for months and months and months, even though that's the sole thing that we're paying them for. So take that for what it's worth, and good luck with business.